They won't always admit it. They won't always show it. But make no mistake, people envy you, not because of what you have, but because of who you are becoming. Envy doesn't come from strangers, it comes from the ones closest to you. The ones who watched you rise, the ones who thought you'd never go beyond the limits they set for themselves. And now, your very existence unsettles them. They see your courage, and it confronts their fear. They see your growth, and it exposes their stagnation. They see your light, and it highlights their shadows. That's why envy follows progress, because your journey forces people to face the truth about their own. But hear me clearly, envy is not your enemy, it's proof you're moving, proof you're building, proof you're living boldly, and if people envy you, it only means one thing: you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Envy comes from proximity. The truth about envy is this: it doesn't come from strangers. A stranger walking down the street doesn't care enough about you to envy you. They don't know your story. They don't know your struggle. They might see your success for a moment and move on. But the people who envy you the most, they're the ones standing right next to you, the ones who shared classrooms with you, worked the same jobs as you, or sat across from you at family dinners. Why? Because they had the same access to opportunity, yet you chose to rise while they chose to stay still. They can't accept that you dared to move when they stayed frozen, that you built when they procrastinated, that you dreamed when they doubted. Envy thrives in proximity because your progress becomes their mirror. Every step you take forward reminds them of the steps they refused to take. They see your courage, and it confronts their fear. They see your discipline, and it exposes their laziness. They see your growth, and it highlights their stagnation. So don't be surprised when those closest to you look at you differently. Their envy is not a reflection of your failure, but of your victory. It is not proof you've done wrong, but that you've done something. When envy comes from those around you, it means you've broken free from the limitations they surrendered to. And that's why proximity breeds envy, because your light exposes their shadows. 2. It's not strangers, it's familiar faces. We often imagine enemies as outsiders, people far removed from us, plotting in the dark, but the harsh reality is this: the deepest envy rarely comes from the outside world. It comes from familiar faces, the ones you've laughed with, the ones you've trusted, the ones you thought would clap the loudest when you succeeded. Instead, they fall silent, or worse, they quietly hope you fail. Why? Because strangers don't carry a history with you. Strangers don't measure their life against yours, but familiar faces do. They remember when you were on their level, when you struggled alongside them. Seeing you rise feels like a betrayal of the script they wrote in their minds, that you'd all remain the same. Envy from familiar faces is the hardest to accept because it hurts. You expected love and received resentment. You expected celebration and found competition. But don't let this break you, let it teach you. Familiar faces envy you not because you've changed for the worse, but because you've changed for the better, and that reminds them of the changes they never had the courage to make. The lesson: stop expecting applause from everyone. Some people won't clap simply because your success reminds them of their stagnation. Don't chase their validation. Don't shrink your growth to make them comfortable. Recognize the envy in familiar faces for what it is: a sign that you've outgrown the box they tried to keep you in, and that's exactly where you're supposed to be. 3. Envy reveals insecurity. Envy is not about you, it's about them. When someone envies you, it's not truly your success that bothers them, it's the reflection of what they lack. Your victories shine a spotlight on their insecurities. Your courage exposes their fear. Your discipline highlights their lack of self-control. Your growth is proof of what they could have achieved, but didn't. That's the brutal truth. Envy is insecurity in disguise. They may laugh at you, they may criticize you, or they may gossip about you, but deep down it isn't hatred they feel. It's frustration at themselves for not becoming what you've become. You are a living reminder of their unfulfilled potential. And here's the secret: their envy is not your problem to solve. Too often we waste time trying to soften our light so others don't feel insecure. We hold back our words, hide our achievements, and minimize our greatness to make other people feel comfortable. But shrinking yourself doesn't remove their insecurity, it only dims your own purpose. Instead, let their envy expose what's real. You're moving, they're standing still. You're building, they're hesitating. You're becoming, they're complaining. Envy is not a sign that you're wrong, it's a signal that you're strong. So don't ever let someone else's insecurity stop you from walking in your power. Their envy is not proof that you're ahead by luck, it's proof that you're ahead by choice. 4. They hide it well. Envy rarely shows itself in obvious ways. It's not always a scream. It's not always open hatred. In fact, the most dangerous envy is subtle. It hides in the shadows of fake smiles. It disguises itself in half-hearted compliments. Wow, you're doing well, must be nice. It creeps into conversations where they act supportive but secretly hope you stumble. That's why envy is so hard to detect. It doesn't announce itself. Instead, it lurks beneath politeness. It hides in the silence when you achieve something worth celebrating. Notice how they'll never share your wins, never cheer loudly, never stand in your corner when it matters most. That's envy pretending to be neutral. And here's the mistake many people make. They confuse silence for support. They think, at least they're not against me. But understand this, silence can be louder than words. When people refuse to acknowledge your progress, it's not because they didn't see it, it's because they did, and it made them uncomfortable. The danger of hidden envy is that it masquerades as friendship, loyalty, or even love, but over time their true feelings reveal themselves. In their tone, in their body language, in the little digs and dismissals. Pay attention. Not everyone who smiles at you is for you. Recognizing hidden envy protects your energy. It teaches you not to mistake proximity for loyalty. Remember, those who truly support you will make it known. Those who envy you will try to hide it, but their silence will always betray them. 5. Your progress triggers them. Every step you take forward is a trigger for someone who's standing still. The moment you start climbing, you remind them of the ladder they never touched. When you set goals and achieve them, you remind them of the excuses they made. Your progress doesn't just move you forward, it shines a light backward, onto the ones who never dared to move. That's why your growth doesn't always bring applause. Sometimes it brings resistance, not because you're wrong, but because your progress forces others to face the truth. You're living proof that the dream they once had was possible. You're the reminder that they could have been more, if only they had the courage to act. Progress is powerful, but it's also polarizing. Some will look at your journey and feel inspired. They'll use your progress as fuel for their own growth. But others, they'll feel threatened. They'll resent the fact that you dared to do what they didn't. They'll pick apart your success, looking for flaws, desperate to convince themselves that your wins aren't real. But here's what you must understand. Their reaction is not your responsibility. Your job is not to make them feel comfortable. It's to keep moving forward. Don't pause your progress to soothe their insecurity. Don't slow your climb to match their pace. Let your progress trigger them, because that trigger is their mirror, not your problem. Remember, progress always exposes the ones who refuse to move. Keep moving anyway. 6. Envy thrives where dreams die. Envy doesn't grow in the hearts of dreamers. People who are chasing their own vision don't have time to envy you. They're too busy building. But envy thrives in the hearts of those who gave up, those who quit on themselves, those who buried their dreams, and now resent anyone who kept theirs alive. When someone stops chasing their purpose, your success becomes unbearable to watch. Why? Because it reminds them of the graveyard of their own potential. Every step you take, every milestone you hit, every risk you embrace, it's a reminder of the courage they once had, but abandoned. This is why some people will cheer for you only until you surpass them. As long as your success doesn't remind them of what they lost, they're comfortable. But the moment your growth reflects their surrender, envy takes root. Understand this, their envy has nothing to do with you. It's about the ghost of their own dreams haunting them every time they see you win. And instead of reviving their own ambition, they choose to criticize yours. But you can't live your life apologizing for chasing what they abandoned. You can't dim your fire to comfort those who let theirs burn out. Keep building, keep dreaming, because your pursuit of purpose isn't an insult. It's an invitation for them to rise again. Whether they accept it or not, is their choice. 7. They celebrate your failures. Pay close attention, because envy reveals itself the most when you stumble, when you fall, when you fail, when you go through struggle. That's when the truth comes out. Those who truly support you will extend a hand, but those who envy you, they'll smile quietly, they'll act concerned on the surface, but feel satisfaction deep down. Why? Because your failure relieves the pressure of their own insecurity. Your stumble makes them feel validated. They think, see, they're not as strong as they pretend. In that moment your loss becomes their comfort. That's envy at work. But here's the dangerous part. Some envious people won't just wait for your failure. they'll help create it. They'll plant seeds of doubt. They'll discourage your risks. They'll give you bad advice, hoping you'll take it. Why? Because the more you lose, the better they feel about never trying. Don't be fooled by who claps when you win. Watch who leans in when you fail. Those who envy you can't help but reveal themselves when things go wrong. Their joy at your pain speaks louder than any smile they've ever faked. But here's the power. Failure doesn't destroy you. It builds you. And every time you rise again, it crushes their envy even deeper. Let them celebrate your downfall. It only makes your comeback that much stronger. 8. They minimize your wins. Another way envy shows itself is in how people react to your success. Notice this carefully. Those who envy you rarely give you full credit. Instead, they minimize. They'll say, "You're lucky." They'll say, "Must be nice." They'll act like the doors that opened for you weren't earned, but handed to you. Why do they do this? Because acknowledging your hard work would force them to confront their own lack of effort. If they admit you built your success, then they must admit they chose not to. That truth is too heavy for them, so they rewrite the story. They convince themselves your achievements were easy, unfair, or accidental. But you know the truth. You know the late nights, the sacrifices, the discipline, the setbacks you had to endure. Nothing about your journey was luck. It was persistence. It was resilience. It was courage to keep going when others quit. Don't let their words poison your progress. When they minimize your wins, it's not because they're right. It's because they're jealous. Their comments are an attempt to drag your greatness down to their comfort zone. So stand firm in your success. Own your wins unapologetically. Never shrink or explain them away, because the very people who try to minimize your achievements will one day be forced to face the undeniable truth. You earned everything they said you didn't deserve. 9. Your growth threatens their comfort. Not everyone fears failure. Some people fear growth. Why? Because your growth disrupts the balance they've gotten comfortable with. As long as you stayed the same, you were safe to them. You didn't challenge them. You didn't make them uncomfortable. But the moment you started evolving, thinking bigger, acting bolder, rising higher, you became a threat to the comfort zone they refuse to leave. Understand this. People who choose mediocrity feel exposed in the presence of excellence. Your discipline unsettles their excuses. Your progress reminds them that comfort always comes at the cost of growth. And instead of being inspired, they become defensive. They criticize you, not because you're wrong, but because you're proof that they could do more. That's why your growth creates envy. It shakes up their world. It forces them to either level up or resent you. Sadly, many will choose resentment. They'll label you as different. They'll distance themselves. They'll even accuse you of forgetting where you came from. But the truth is, you didn't forget. You simply refused to stay stuck. So never apologize for growing. Never dim yourself so others can remain comfortable. Growth isn't betrayal. Growth is necessary. And if your growth threatens their comfort, let it. You weren't born to keep others cozy. You were born to expand into your full potential. 10. Envy is confirmation. Here's a truth that will set you free. Envy is confirmation. It's proof you're on the right track. Think about it. Nobody envies mediocrity. Nobody envies someone who's stagnant, lazy, or uninspired. People only envy what they wish they had. They envy strength, courage, discipline, success, and freedom, which means when you feel envy directed at you, it's not a curse. It's evidence of your impact. Instead of letting envy discourage you, let it validate you. The whispers, the silence, the fake support, those are signs you're doing something remarkable. People don't get jealous of ordinary. They get jealous of extraordinary. If they're talking, it means you're moving. If they're doubting, it means you're building. If they're envying, it means you're becoming. Shift your perspective. Envy isn't an attack. It's a signal that you've stepped into a level of growth worth noticing, a signal that your presence is powerful enough to stir emotions, a signal that you're no longer blending in, you're standing out. So wear envy like a badge of honor, not because you enjoy their resentment, but because it confirms your momentum. Every envious glance, every silent treatment, every backhanded compliment, is evidence that you've touched a nerve, and that nerve is proof you're alive, moving, and thriving. 11. Don't fight it. Use it. Most people make the mistake of trying to fight envy. They argue, defend themselves, over-explain, or shrink their success in order to quiet the noise. But here's the truth. Envy isn't meant to be fought. It's meant to be used. When people envy you, they're giving you free feedback. They're showing you where your power lies. They're pointing at the very qualities that set you apart. Instead of wasting energy arguing with them, channel that energy into building further. Let their envy become your fuel. Think about it. If they envy your discipline, double down on it. If they envy your confidence, grow even bolder. If they envy your consistency, keep showing up. Their envy identifies your strengths, and your job is to amplify them. The moment you stop trying to convince envious people, you reclaim your power. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them comfort. Your only responsibility is to keep moving forward. Let their envy be background noise, reminders that you're walking in territory most people are too afraid to enter. Remember this: you don't silence envy by shrinking, you silence it by succeeding. You don't destroy envy by confrontation, you destroy it by continuing. So stop fighting it, use it. Let envy be the fire that keeps you burning long after their words fade. 12. Stay focused. Envy is designed to distract you. That's its biggest weapon. The whispers, the gossip, the negativity, it's all noise meant to pull your eyes off the goal. If you're not careful, you'll spend more time addressing envy than advancing your mission. That's how many people get stuck. They fight shadows instead of chasing light. You need to understand this. Your energy is precious. Every second spent defending yourself is a second stolen from building yourself. Every argument drains the fuel you need for progress, and envy thrives when it succeeds in pulling your focus away from what matters. The key: stay locked in. Keep your vision bigger than their opinions. Remember why you started. Remember where you're headed. The only way to silence envy is to stay so focused, so disciplined, so consistent, that no amount of gossip can derail you. Your success doesn't come from what they think, it comes from what you do. Let their envy be the background hum, while you play the main melody of your life. Don't stop, don't pause, don't look back. Keep moving forward with unshakable focus, because at the end of the day, envy doesn't win, focus does. 13. Respect will follow. Here's the most powerful truth about envy: it doesn't last forever. At first they envy you, they criticize, they doubt, they dismiss. But if you stay the course, if you keep showing up, if you refuse to quit, eventually, their envy transforms into something else: respect. Time has a way of silencing envy. The same people who rolled their eyes will one day nod their heads. The same ones who mocked your ambition will one day point to you as proof it's possible. Because results speak louder than resentment. Success speaks louder than envy. But notice, respect isn't earned by begging. You don't demand it. You don't ask for it. You earn it by consistency. You earn it by resilience. You earn it by refusing to give up when they wanted you to. So let them envy you now. Let them whisper, doubt, and criticize, because one day those same voices will have no choice but to admit the truth. You built something real, and respect will follow, not because they wanted to give it, but because you left them no choice. Envy is temporary, respect is permanent. Keep going until the same mouths that envied you speak your name with honor. That's the true victory.